Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the 13th episode of this season and of the webinar series. My name is Venkatraman, and the name of the business that we run is called YouTooCanRun. We are one of India's largest sports management companies. We do a lot around running, and this webinar series is about running and about how different aspects of running. We do race management, we do event registration, we do a whole bunch of things. We have about 10 product lines. And today we have three eminent speakers. And we felt that this topic was very necessary because in the times of COVID, we are going through a lot of mental stress. I mean, generally we have a lot of mental stress, and mental health is a big issue. We have three experts, so we have on this panel, and we are going to talk about especially mental health and more specifically, in terms of COVID, what is going to happen. And this event is being conducted in conjunction, or rather to support a virtual event that we are conducting called Into the Light Virtual Run, which is conducted for raising funds for Sister Living Works. And Gayatri Datta from Sister Living Works, who does a lot for suicide prevention, is also going to be here with us today. So let me take the speakers in, introduce them very briefly, and get started. Okay. So first we have Dr. Harish Shetty. Many of you who are in Bombay may know him. Many who are outside Bombay may also know him. He's a very eminent psychiatrist, and he has two CVs, a short CV and a long CV. And the short CV is too long for even even to read out on this. So we don't read out. But let me tell you that I've known him personally, professionally, and he's a very renowned psychiatrist. He has done with a whole lot of cases. He has gone into many platforms. He has been the expert psychiatrist to teach judges on how to do marriage counseling. He has been into Latur earthquakes. He has done psychiatric counseling uh, for the sailors who were taken about by the Somalia pirates, and so on and so forth. Okay, so welcome to the panel, Dr. Shetty. Very happy to have you with us. I know that you have a very busy practice. I know you have a long queue outside your door around this time, but but I'm happy you took out 1 hour for us today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Welcome. I'm so happy to be with
Uh,
you, with
Thank you.
Varkha, and with Gayatri.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. I know that you support Gayatri a lot. Thank you very much. Thank you. Next on the panel, we have Varkha Chulani. Uh, Varkha is a analyst, psychologist, psychiatrist, psychologist, and some of you may not know the definition of mental health is something that we shy away from, and I think it should be a compulsory topic for as part of their life skills. But Varkha, uh, I've known Varkha from she's a very eminent psychoanalyst. She's a part of the US faculty. She's a supervisor on the Albert Ellis Institute in New York. She's published two books, mental health for teenagers, and one more book. She has been a regular columnist in Bombay and appeared on television, and many things. Thank you for being on the panel, Varkha.
Thank you so much, Venkat. Thank you, Dr. Shetty and
Varkha,
Gayatri.
thank you.
Pleasure
Thank
to
you.
be with all of you. Thank you.
Thank you. And lastly, we have Gayatri Datta. And Gayatri Datta herself is an inspiration. She started Sister Living Works because her brother committed suicide. Okay, he felt that as his sister, she must do something for that brother, and this. So that is why it's called Sister Living Works. The sister is living and she's working for the mother, and she's very passionate about it. If you go to the site Sister Living Works, and we'll talk about it a little bit more later on in the show. She does a lot for suicide prevention. I was yesterday talking to my very good friend Nishit Kumar, who also does a lot on in the NGO sector regarding social mental health. He told me that you know about 40%, 30 to 40% of teenagers entering high school are clinically depressed. I mean, this is like a fact, and this, and the problem is very heavy, and this doesn't get cured, and we don't take care of it, because we look down upon remedial action for mental health as something that is deficient. and Gayatri is doing immense work. Welcome to the show, Gayatri.
Thank you, Venkat. Thank you, Dr. Shetty. Thank you all.
Thank you. So,
If
let
I
me
may
start off
correct
without
one
too much
thing,
of ado.
Dr. Shetty,
Ah,
Venkat, can I correct something? It's not my brother, it's rather my sisters. I've
sure.
lost sisters and cousin sister to suicide.
Okay,
Yes.
sorry.
And that's why Sisters Living works.
Okay, okay.
Thank you. Sorry about that.
Okay, sorry. Okay,
No.
thank you. No problem. So coming back, I want to start with Dr. Shetty first. And Dr. Shetty, how acute is the problem of mental health? I mean, forget COVID. Generally speaking, what is the challenge guys who are in the trenches, you and Varkha? So we want to hear from you. Forget the statistics and forget the numbers, but really anecdotally, how serious is mental health as an issue in this country?
I think Varkha will agree. It's very big. I think statistics is also very important. Numbers are also very important. I'm not
Okay,
saying this.
sure, of course.
Global Burden of
Ah,
Disease (GBD), which the report which was released 2 months before the pandemic, few months before the
hmm,
2 3 months, released by
hmm,
ICMR said 20 crore Indians are mentally ill, and one
hmm.
out of seven Indian is mentally ill. I'm not talking about stress. Nimans did the same
Okay.
thing 3 years ago, and they said one out of eight. And that's a
Ah,
huge number. And we have approximately 10,000 mental health professionals maximum.
hmm,
4 to 6,000 psychiatrists, equal number of psychologists, etc. Now, if you
hmm,
look at the NCRB figures, very, very poignant figures. One out
hmm.
of five people who end their life by suicide are daily wage laborers. One out of
Oh,
six people who commit suicide are housewives.
oh yeah.
And one out of three Indians who end their life by suicide die because of family problems. So
Oh,
it's a massive issue. Again, to just end here, the president of the country, president of
hmm,
India, said India is in the middle of a looming mental health epidemic.
hmm.
He said it 2.5, 3 years ago. It's on record. And now, when we look at the entire disaster, COVID has not come to cure the mental health epidemic. It's
Hmm.
massive. We are going to see a mental health avalanche which is invisible as of now, which will get visible very soon. COVID kills, and that is visible. But what is invisible is something which is going to kill us every day, and these are mental health issues. It's a huge issue, and we don't have a mental health minister. We don't have mental health people in the COVID task force across the country. We have a few helplines. I still do not see IAS officers who come on the TV regularly and they're health secretaries not talking about mental health. I don't see, except the prime minister and a couple of politicians, very few politicians are aware that something big is happening around us. So what is very important is the stigma is huge. The stigma is very huge. The shame is very huge. And we are in the middle of a mental health epidemic. Lastly, if you address mental health issues, physical issues also improve. If you address mental issues, lifespan also changes. The quality of life changes. The productivity improves. And all what you give to the people as aid or as help from the state, from the center, from NGOs, will also make its impact. And that I think is very, very important. So mind and body, when you address both, the holistic health improves. But if you address only body and ignore the mind, I don't have to say anything further. In every family, one out of seven means what? One in an extended family. If you have a family of four, and if you add your parents and one or two people, one in an extended family, which is very, very big. A housing complex with 500 people will have 35 mentally ill people. So it's an invisible pandemic and is going to hit India big time. And only mental health professionals will not be able to address the same. As my teacher, Professor N. Wig, who headed the WHO CRO wing years ago, said mental health is too important to be left to mental health professionals alone. There has to be a movement across the country to really assist mental health. Thank you for the question.
Is he frozen?
He's frozen, yeah.
I think so.
Varkha is frozen, no?
Yeah.
He has to close all his Wi-Fi at home.
The bandwidth. While they're waiting, Varkha, maybe you can just address it since we can hear you.
I agree. I agree with that.
Shall I send him a message?
No, you
No,
start.
that's okay. Let him fix it and you can just address
speaking.
the same question
Oh, okay.
while he's...
Yeah. So I think one of the things that we are not really clear about is that what is mental health? Because I think it's confusion among most people that if you experience emotions like sadness, annoyance, etc., you're mentally ill. And I don't think that's really true. So as a clinical psychologist and as a psychotherapist, I'm very clear that mental health is achieving potentiality, achieving ability of what a human being is capable of. And to that extent, I would say that all of us have some emotional distress in bridging the gap between where we are and where we want to go. So I think the most important thing to say is that how do we all optimize and increase our mental fitness to cope with challenges when they come our way, especially since like the platform YouTooCanRun encourages ability to build stamina, to build the fitness levels of the human body. Likewise, mental health is about fitness building, about going and building what I call emotional muscle to be able to cope with the difficulties and the challenges that are bound to be there in every person's life. And I think another aspect to mental health that I think society at large does not recognize, and I'm using Dr. Shetty's statistics, where he says that there is 1 among 8 laborers and housewives who are by and large unfortunately ending their lives. I think for mental wellness, we pay too little attention to situations, circumstances around us. And we also, I do not think, give enough importance to the people that we interact with on a day-to-day basis, at home, with our family members, at work, with the work or people who we work with in terms of either our peers or our bosses. I think it's an entire dynamic, and to put the entire onus only on the mind is a bit exaggerated. And the reason I say this is because when the lockdown began, the National Commission for Women reported emotional, physical abuse. That means the people who were unfortunately now staying home for a significant period of time, which they had not been used to as such, because lockdown is not something which any of us are used to, the unfortunate rise in physical and sexual abuse and even child abuse increased so much. Now, we cannot attribute that only to the mind. It is also the environmental conditions. There were people who lost jobs. There was financial distress. There was no idea of when this is going to end. How are people going to earn their living? So the very fact a daily laborer commits suicide is similar to a farmer who's indebted with so much of loan and so much of financial distress that unfortunately he feels helpless, does not see any hope in how his situation is going to improve, and ends his life. So Bertrand Russell, the great philosopher, said, happiness is partly external and also partly internal. To put everything on the mind only, I think, is giving too little credit to some environmental conditions. Otherwise, why would there be divorce in the world? Why would there be toxic bosses? Why would there be people going bankrupt? I mean, those are significant contributors as well. And unfortunately, COVID has been a big game changer in the situational contributors. And therefore, what Dr. Shetty says absolutely correctly is that this pandemic is going to lead to a mental health epidemic of unheard proportions because there are circumstantial, situational factors at play as well. And I think we have to underscore and give some impetus and importance to those factors also. So besides the mind, I would also contribute as contributors. I'm not saying that they're not contributors. They are simply contributors of who are the people we are interacting with, what are the kind of financial situations we are in, and in what unfortunate situational circumstances many of us are forced to face.
No problem. Yes, Gayatri?
Thank you. That was interesting. Yes. One of the things that,
Husband, partners, etc. I think then it can really give the woman a kind of a feeling that she's actually being helped rather than the entire burden that is being put wholly and solely only on her. But socioculturally, generally, as a theme, women have always been asked to carry the burden of house help and home stuff. So what has happened is, because of COVID, now, as you rightly said, they're juggling multiple roles. So they've actually become jugglers. They're trying to cook and they're trying to educate the kids. And if they are, as you said, working women, simultaneously manage their homes. And if you've got extremely difficult people to live with, where there's a constantly demanding husband who will unfortunately not extend his hand and share the load, so to speak, or you've got old aged in-laws who may want to extend their hand, but they may be unfortunately unable simply because of their restrictive physical ailments, etc. And add to that, because of COVID, all housing societies had stopped allowing house help to come. So it's been a very, very challenging time for the woman, particularly if the relationships at home are not one which is very conducive to collaborative, cooperative, partnering, and helping. So I cannot say a one size fits all. I think it's going to be very individualistic, depending, as I said, on the relationships that have been built over time before even COVID hit.
Correct. And we are seeing a more amplified manifestation of that issue at home.
Yes. So
It
it
only
was always
amplifies.
there, and now
Ah,
I'm in the face of everyone. And then all those things which were otherwise buried under the carpet or swept aside are actually being brought to the fore.
my God. Are you
So
seeing a
COVID is
lot
a
of
test of relationships also. A lot of people are not getting along. Previously, they managed because there were so many distractions. You went to bars, you went to restaurants, you went for movies, you went to parties. Okay, you really didn't have to interact with each other. This time, you're being compelled to interact with each other for 4 months now, 24/7. It's not something that comes very easily to most. And then everybody does not necessarily have the maturity and the good sense to not let difficulties, everyone has difficulties, to escalate, unfortunately, into disturbances. So dissatisfactions and disappointments with each other can, if learned how to be managed well, will not necessarily escalate into a disturbance.
Oh my God. Yeah, I agree with you. Dr. Harish Shetty, what is your take? I mean, COVID-19, women, and mental health.
Three issues.
Ah,
One is the virus has been very generous to women.
to women.
Yeah, because men are affected more than women. The ratio is very hugely gender. The gender difference is very big. There's a big gender bias as far as the virus is concerned. That's number one. Number two is this is an opportunity for mothers, wives, sisters to shift the power equation in the family. Corona has given you an opportunity. So what are you at home? Are you a martyr? Are you a manager? If you're a martyr, मैं सबसे अच्छी बहू हूँ, मैं सबसे अच्छी माँ हूँ, मेरे से पत्नी तो कहीं भी नहीं मिलेगी, and she gets caught into this entire role. But if she's a manager, I shared this with a lot of with many audiences. So some women tried. I said in the morning, sit down. World has changed. I have changed, and these are the roles for today. Let's share the roles. Now, change is not easy. It's always tumultuous. Change happens only when there is something which is rocked in the family. There has to be turbulence. So then, in some families it was easy. In other families, this woman is trying to act smart. We have never worked inside the house. हमारे खानदान में मर्द कभी अंदर ही नहीं जाते हैं. Uh, so वो सब हुआ. In third thing, the women just posed this question of being a martyr and a manager, but she did not execute it. She said, "No, yeah, it's I'm wired that I have to do this." And even when men went and approached them, at first the woman would say, "नहीं नहीं ये ठीक नहीं है. तुम यहाँ बहुत पसारा करोगे, and you will really spoil the entire kitchen or the entire floor." The issue is manager or martyr. And the third most important issue about women is that, do men want to see happy wives? Do kids want to see happy mothers, or do they want to see a perfect house and an unhappy mother? So that's the choice they have to make. Imperfect house, no issues at all. खाना नहीं बना एक दिन strike पे गया मंगाया खाना बाहर से. So many complex are cooking food inside the house. So if you want to see a happy mother, a happy sister, a happy wife, an imperfect house, that's the perfect combination which we need to look at. But I agree with the Varkha that the National Commission of Women got a lot of calls of domestic violence. And also, Varkha, I need to share something. It's not the mind I was talking about. The brain has not changed its size, shape, color, texture, chemistry, and volume. The environment has changed, and that's what has caused the rise in mental illness. The brain is still the same. I have been told by a lot of radiologists that in the MRIs, brains have not changed. But what you correctly said is the environment which has really changed the brain chemistry and caused the mental illness. Thank you, Venki, for
Okay.
the opportunity. Yeah.
Okay. So, Gayatri, what is your take? COVID, are you seeing more interventions, more cases in your NGO? Has the last 3 months been different from, what they were earlier?
So let me address it this way. Before, we used to do it more local, and we've been getting a lot of requests from even like Pakistan,
China.
from pardon?
China.
No, not yet. Singapore. So, because it's become a little global, because we are doing a lot of our workshops online, we do see majority of them are women still, but there are a lot of men who are often afraid to talk about it, but they are coming up. And because we encourage a lot of conversation, they are talking about it. One of the things that I feel that yes, women, and particularly I would say in Asian countries or anywhere in the world, women tend to socialize more, go out. This doesn't give them an opportunity. If there's distress at home, you go out and you talk to your friends. We don't have that outlet happening. But this is not only for women, kids. There's a lot of different issues happening. And one of the things we talk about is how do you de-stress in a situation like this, because you're closed in. We have no option. So we have to really learn how to live with it and, go out. If your heart rate has gone up and you're in an argument, move away because your heart rate comes up to talk to people, because then you find that you're in a calmer state of mind to discuss situations with whoever you're having an argument in the house. And try to focus more on things that you can manage rather than thinking, what am I going to do after? When you try to focus on things that you cannot control, it's very difficult because we get stressed. So in trying to live in a situation where, we do the best is focus on things that you can control rather than, and what will happen, of course we are going to think about it, but don't focus on those things. And, try to de-stress by moving away from an argument. If there's an argument heating up, move away from that situation. Let your heart rate come down before you can go back. You come back with a much better perspective of how to talk or how the situation is, because then you see that where the person was coming from is very different from what you were thinking because you've let yourself reason and rationalize. So, rather than, focusing, yes, women or men, I think they're all stressed in this situation.
Yeah, I agree with you. So coming to this, stress was always there. Mental health statistics are very, very bad. And it is very, very rampant. Um, what are the coping mechanisms? I mean, before somebody comes and sees, takes an appointment with Varkha or with Dr. Harish Shetty, and many of them don't even know where to go. What are the symptoms that a person should watch out for, that these are telltale signs? Like, see, I have a lot of background in heart disease, and you all know my, background. So we know what is angina, we know what is, high lipids. So what are the kind of test or symptoms that one should watch out for before they come to you? So Dr. Harish Shetty, first with you.
Well, if you Google, you'll get all the symptoms. But I'm going to tell you
Yes, of course.
three or four things which is very common now. I
Hmm.
see a lot of people should focus on the tone of people at home, and I see
Ah.
a lot of tone changing. There's a change in tone. Sometimes the tone is irritable to a point that it is rude, and the
Hmm.
person was never like this before. So what is happening is fear, which is very adaptive, which is very necessary for us to cope with the entire disaster, can
Hmm.
get converted into irritability, can get converted into panic, can get converted into suspicion and paranoia. So the tone which is irritable or the tone which is very vulnerable, very soft and very crying is something which is just preceding something which you need to take treatment. Number two is I see a lot of pandemic fatigue. It's not depression, it's not boredom, there's a different sense of fatigue यार. I just यार शरीर हिलाना ही नहीं होता यार, क्या पता ही नहीं. It's not boredom, it's not depression, it's fatigue. And this fatigue, if not managed, as Gayatri said beautifully, she spoke about the heart rate. I think she's very fond of the dil as well as the heart, and she spoke spoke about the heart
The
rate.
mind and the heart.
Yeah.
So I think this entire and this entire webinar conversation is planned beautifully. We have Venkat who knows everything about the heart, and we have Varkha who knows everything about the dill, and Gayatri is trying to make balance, and I'm trying to learn. So first is
I'm
the
the pendulum. Yeah.
first is the tone, second is the fatigue, and third is the restlessness. I'll tell you what happened. 3 days ago, a patient was discharged from a major hospital in the suburbs, had oxygen of 98, fine. He just jumped down from the seventh floor and he died the next day.
My God.
Restlessness is agitation.
Ah.
Remember one thing, one of the most important symptoms which you need to correct very soon is agitation, which can lead to suicide. In depression also, you know all the symptoms. Everybody knows concentration hat gaya, so you need to be careful. You sleep is less or more, you need to be careful. If you're sad and crying, you need to be careful. Appetite very less and more, you need to be careful. Pain all over the body. I don't know why this paining coming all over the body. You need to be careful. Feel hopeless. You feel responsible for the corona. You need to be careful. If you're very guilty that I've lost my job, my family is going to really go away, you have to be careful. You had thoughts about harming yourself, you have to be careful. So any of these symptoms, you need to go and screen yourself. Screening is important. Just like as Venkat says, pain that angina, you go and screen whether it's angina or it's anxiety. So restlessness is agitation. It's not anxiety, and it's very and all the corona doctors will say that hypoxia can give agitation, low oxygen can give agitation. But what I'm saying is the corona doctors in the hospital, as they enter the hospital, let all the patients be screened by a mental health professional. What is wrong? Screening can be done through a distance, so that we don't miss that person who will jump or will die. Now, very paradoxically, let me admit, suicides have gone down in Bombay. March,
Really? Okay.
I'll tell you, March, April, May, June, suicides have gone down as compared to March, April, May, June in the last year. Why? Family is together, people are talking together. So actual figures have gone down. But I'm seeing an avalanche, and we need to be very careful if tone changes, if there's restlessness, if there's sleeplessness, which is very common in corona, very, very common. नींद नहीं आती है. If there is some amount of fatigue, and this can really precipitate anxiety, and if you don't take care of anxiety, you get depressed. Simple as that. So don't allow your husband, wife, your kids to sit at one place and watch Netflix. See that they walk. I'm doing chair Surya Namaskar taught by the Yoga Institute at Santa Cruz on the chair. Surya Namaskar. So do something at least. I walk 10,000 feet every day, almost 4 days a week. So I don't miss the gym anymore. So if you do not become physically active, if you're very lucky that you can see the sunrise or the sunset or the sun or the moon from your window, please have a look. Recall all your ex-girlfriends, ex-boyfriends, but have a look. So keep your brain stimulated by good sensory impulses for you to be sane and alive. And I feel very sad that we are in the midst of a very big avalanche, and we all need to come together. I've written a plan for Maharashtra and sent it to the chief minister of what we need to do in the mental health epidemic. So I think it's a big challenge. And by the way, sir, Anybody talking about death and dying, please screen. It could be low intensity thought. It could be just a cry for help. It could be anything. A range, but screen. Screening is important, and that I think we all need to do. And there are enough psychologists who are in the altruistic phase. They want to help. They're giving out services free online. So make use of that and see to it, because the altruistic phase will not last for too long. So I think that is something we need to do.
Very good. Very long and very lucid answer. Varka, what do you think are the symptoms that probably you look for over and above what Dr. Harish Shetty has already, mentioned? I
So I
mean,
think
I
what
mean, I am, in a certain frame of mind. What is my self checklist?
yeah.
Should I go to work or should I not go to work?
I think the self checklist is that
Yeah.
am I able to maintain a regular routine of life? I think what has happened in the last 4 months, everybody thinks they're on holiday. They're all sleeping at 2 and 3 and 4 in the morning, binge watching TV, Netflix, and God knows whatever else, constantly chatting endlessly. And as Dr. Shetty said, sleep is becoming compromised. A lack of sleep also leads to agitation, a lot of agitation, and all suicides are not necessarily depressive suicides. There's something also called an agitated suicide, which happens in the impulse, in the spur of a moment, right? Without thinking, the person just does something which is unfortunately very radical and very sudden. So I think what we have to keep reminding ourselves as people is that life is continuing. Just because you don't wear your clothes and go out to work and you're sitting in your pajamas or shorts, that does not mean you change anything. You eat on time, you have your regular routine of working as much and keep regular work hours. People are overworking or they're not working at all. So I think a balance of keeping regular work hours, keeping the regular routine of breakfast, lunch, dinner, keeping regular sleep hours. That if you sleep at 11 o'clock and get up at 7 o'clock, please continue, because the body loves routine and regularity. It functions optimally when there is a set pattern to the body, where you sleep at a particular time, you get up at a particular time, you use the bathroom at a particular time. Continue to maintain discipline. I think the minute you find yourself going all over the place, you know that something's not completely correct. So there are many people who are overeating. Unfortunately, there are people who are binging and eating because, I don't know, somehow comfort eating and the comfort that comes with pleasure of food subdues the emotional distress that some people are getting. So if you're noticing that you're eating more, alcohol, you saw what happened when the government opened alcohol shops, right? But let us not laugh, because these people, unable to cope with the stress in a regular, healthy manner, have unfortunately used alcohol as a coping mechanism to help them cope, because alcohol does evoke a neurotransmitter in the brain and gives you a temporary peace, but it is a very known agitation rescuer. I know so many people who have been desperate for alcohol in these last 4 months. They've emptied their bars, they borrow bottles from other people, and their alcohol consumption has gone up significantly. So if you see yourself wanting a drink more than what you usually wanted before the pandemic hit, please notice that something's not right. So your
Correct.
food,
Very good.
your alcohol, your sleeplessness, your lack of maintaining a routine, your lack of hygiene. If you don't have a bath every day, there's something not right. These are simple things, and I think parents need to watch out for it, especially for these young teens. Now, unfortunately, what has happened because of all this China thing, this TikTok, which has been banned, according to me, has taken away the lifeline of a teenager, because at least he was out of trouble. He was busy making videos of himself and posting. He was engaged creatively. He got people liking him. There was a social kind of an acceptance. Now you've got a pandemic, you've got a lockdown, and you've got no TikTok. So please be even more vigilant as to how are your children behaving, how are young adults behaving, because a lot of people have been affected because TikTok has been removed. I mean, I understand politically and all that, but you have to also keep environment in mind, that you are removing something which has been the lifeline of people, which has given them an identity. I don't know if you know that last month or 2 months ago, a TikTok fan who had some millions of followers committed suicide.
Oh, my God.
So yes, it happened in Delhi. I'm not comparing it to the fact that it was because TikTok was banned. I'm not saying that, but I think we have to be vigilant and alert that there are some things which are keeping our sanity, and if those things are constantly going to be taken away because of banning and because of everything else, well, then we are not doing a holistic idea. So for the government, as Dr. Shetty said, they have to look at it 360 degrees. You cannot look at it segmentally and look at it in a very narrow manner. So I think changing of routine is a wake-up call. If you change your routine, I think it's time for you to look at yourself a little more closely.
Of all the points you made, Varka, I want to really talk about the lack of sleep. I mean, this Netflix binging is a very big thing. The screen time is a very big thing because of this blue light, and
Yeah.
it interferes with the melatonin production, and all that has been well studied. So in YouTube can run as a work from home policy. We said no business, no commitment, no appointment between 1 and 3
In the afternoon.
in the afternoon, because we felt that whatever happens in the night, you sleep, don't sleep, whatever it is, at least after lunch, take half an hour of sleep and get up and come back. And all the women wanted it because they have to make lunch, they have to serve lunch, they have to eat their own lunch, they have to wash their dishes, and then they have to come back for the meeting. So the woman said, "Yes, we want this," and I also said, "Yeah, that's right. Let's keep 2 hour lunch break. Let's go back to the ways of the world. Where in small town India, everybody went home for a siesta." and there's a lot of this debate about whether we are biphasic in our circadian rhythm and all that. That debate is a separate debate. So we gave 2 hours sleep. I think something like that has to be there, because wellness has to be an important part. And of course, I think that as an employer, I am responsible for the wellness of my workforce, and
Excellent.
setting. That is why I'm saying this in an open forum, not
Very
because I want to show you to can understand this, but this is something that can be adopted by everybody. And
The
have
women
have
will
a
have to work with you.
thank you. There'll be many of them viewing this. I don't know what they'll say, but yes, yeah. So that's what we did. So we did from 10 to 7. So we extended 1 hour from 6 to 7. Everybody said that's all right, because after 7 we can go and fix dinner by 9 o'clock. So that also doesn't matter for us. So that is something that we did as this, and we intend to make this as a regular policy even when we start working. So that is something. Okay. So anyway, there are many coping mechanisms. So I'll come to Gayatri. Gayatri, you heard the symptoms from Dr. Harish Shetty. You heard the checklist from Varkha. What do you think are the coping mechanisms that are necessary? Sleep, hygiene. Varkha mentioned about that. Bonding with people, etc. But particularly when it comes to exercise, outdoor activities, and you are talking about it, what are your views on the on exercise as a coping mechanism? And we also want to know something about Into the Light virtual run, and why are you doing this, and what's the benefit of the run?
Okay, thank you. As I kind of alluded it in the beginning, that with exercise, when you do, your heart rate goes up, you also tend to be calmer. Well, when you're calmer, you also sleep well, because when you're tired, naturally you sleep well. When you're calm, you have more motivation to do things. So that's one of the big benefits of exercise. You're out with people, you're seeing people, and in this situation, even if you're not, but at least when you get your heart rate, because in India it was a complete lockdown, which not every country faced that, but we can still do a little bit of exercise like yoga, to calm ourselves down, to help with the coping mechanisms that we talked about, the heart rate. It actually helps with the heart rate. It gets your heart rate down. And so, it initially, of course, gets it up when you're doing heavy exercise. But that's good for you because you're secreting certain hormones, which helps you. So those are some of the big coping mechanisms for exercise per se with exercise. But one of the things that I feel like, particularly in the Asian countries, we have, as women, we have not been treated as the primary person we are treated as a second class citizen. It's getting better, but it still exists. And so women are not given all the attention for going to the doctor. They're not considered as the primary bread giver, and so we see in our families, I'm sure many of you, that the women will eat last, that the women gives everything to the kids or the husband. So the husband's health is become very primary in our society. And it has always been, it's getting better, but women need to recognize that when she's not feeling good, that her basic work is becoming very difficult for her to manage, because that's one of the things we tell people: go see someone, talk to someone, find out whether that's a problem. That is because there's so many different depressions, minor, major, psychotic depression. There are different. Dr. Shetty will can talk more about that. But there are so many different kinds of depression. And there are depression. If I lost a job, yeah, you might feel a little depressed for a few days, which is normal. But if this is going on for a month, you don't feel like getting up out of bed. You just is a struggle for you to clean the house or to do the basic necessities. Then you need to at least talk to someone, see if there is a problem, see if something can be helped. And in Asian countries, we talk about a lot of it is cultural, and as compared to the European countries, where a lot of the suicides that happen are genetic. So the percentage is much higher in India due to cultural factors. But these are factors where they can go talk to someone, find out if there is a real issue, if they need. And there is, when depression, Dr. Shetty will talk to that too, about the brain, the chemicals imbalance. A lot of people are afraid of taking medicine, but sometimes you just have to, because your brain, your chemical imbalance in your brain, it helps the brain. So, to break that myth that any kind of medicine is detrimental to you is important, and particularly encouraging health seeking behavior, telling women that if you're in the house, you're a housewife, or even if you're going out. I've heard of very successful women in India that they have no idea what's happening with the bank account. When they want to take money, their husbands are controlling, and these are very, very successful people I'm talking about. So that a kind of cultural factors that contribute to these, and I'm sure they don't feel good about it, because you don't feel whole. So they might succumb to it, but they don't feel whole. But finding someone who can help you out, going to a psychiatrist, a good psychologist, good counselor, is, I think, the first step that we can do when we see that are basic things we cannot maintain in our daily lives.
Okay, good. Thank you. Can you talk something about your run, the Into the Virtual Run? Why are you doing this? And quick, we're running out of time a bit, but
okay. So into the virtual run, we had been started to do the run because I've been a runner for many, many years, and I do a lot of long distance running. And I will vouch to that, that when you run, you meet friends, we talk about so many things other than, we talk about our husbands, our wives, we cuss them out, we have a lot of discussion, we have a lot of different ways of dealing with situations in the house. Many of us, people call us, sometimes people have said, you guys are crazy, you run 50 miles. And we said, no, we are sane because we are running 50 miles. And so it's basically, everyone doesn't have to do those long distance, but so because I run and because I see the benefits, and so many studies have constantly talked about mental health, because without mental health, also your physical health is also associated. They're linked up. And so your physical health also helps your mental health. And by running. So we had started this small time encouraging people to go out. And this year, because of the COVID, when Venkat Hiral actually said, why don't you do a virtual run? And I said, great, we can try and see, and allow people, as soon as India opened up, to outside, doing some work. I want to encourage people to do even small things, that helps you um, get out, do things, and have the ability to associate with people, have an outlet other than, your workplace and your home. There are other people that you can associate, mix with. So that is the main goal of encouraging people to live a healthy life, to have a healthy mental attitude, and be able to cope. Because if you're feeling good, if you're motivated, then everything else becomes less stressful. Um,
Okay.
Not that
Good.
I'm saying you don't
Good.
have to go to the doctor, but
Okay.
definitely yes. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Dr. Harish Shetty, what is your take on exercise physiology and mental? I mean, it's tan and man. It's both part of the same system. I mean, the human body is a system of systems, and exercise does play a beneficial role. What is your take? And are there any instances where you have seen people, exercising and recovering, etc.?
Well, there's a film known as Black Dog,
Okay.
not the whiskey, but the Black
Okay.
Dog film on the net.
Ah,
It's a 3 to 4 minute movie, and it's Bold Organization is also a part of the entire movie. And Black Dog is a
okay.
word which Winston Churchill used for his own depression.
Okay.
Exercise relieves stress and mild depression. It is very, very clear. I mean, it's absolutely clear. Exercise dissolves fears, tears, and shame. No problems. So I prescribe exercise as a pill.
Hmm.
But when you're severely depressed, when you have a fracture of the mind and everything looks similar, Saudi Arabia and Switzerland look similar, you can't ask the person to do exercise. But as
Okay.
he's improving, as he or she is improving, exercise is an antidepressant.
Okay.
Let me be very clear. And if you have mild stress and if you rate yourself positive on depression, but if it's mild and you're functioning at a subnormal state and you have no family history of depression, you have no past history of depression, exercise can relieve your stress and depression. And the marathon, phenomenal. As you practice, there is aspiration to reach a goal throughout the day. When the day comes, the dopamine hits you into the brain and say, "Aaj wo din hai." It is my birthday, and that's a beautiful sense of feeling. When you get on the tracks, the journey itself is arousal of hope, sense of belonging with so many people running with you. Isn't it so beautiful? Sense of belonging is also an antidepressant. When the depression is because of meaning in life, loss of meaning in life, and then you run together, you feel a sense of purpose, and then the brain starts starts experiencing a joy which cannot be described by words, and the body experiencing a joy. There's a lot of chemistry which happens when children run. The growth hormone is released, it helps them to grow. When you run, a lot of systems get reset and rebooted without doing anything, and that I think is heaven. I congratulate Gayatri for really initiating the run. I will support it fully across my social media platform because I really
Thank
value the
you.
work you do in India and in USA. So I would advise all the viewers, if you don't run the marathon, perfectly all right, but start running as a prescription. I write as a prescription. And if you say, I will start from Monday, next birthday, I will start from 1st August, no, 1st September, stop it. The best way to start running is keep your track suits next to your bed, keep your t-shirts next to your bed, put the shoes there, put your socks there, and also call up 5 friends that you're going to run because four of them will say, "Hum bhi aa jate hain." And remember, when you run, don't talk about your family problems. Running is meditation. It's a pious exercise. It's for you
Hmm.
alone. And if the friends run with you, it's fine. But don't run as a ritual.
Very good.
Don't make it a
Before,
ritual.
sorry, you're
In
saying
the
something.
sense of
Sorry.
when I say ritual, you don't pay your driver well, but you want to run the marathon. Not done.
Ah,
You will not pay your servants the last 4 months' salary and then you say, I want to run for this cause. No. It has to integrate as part of life. And I love walking and running. I don't want to run the marathon at all. My friend Dr. Rakesh Sinha Anyway, so I will not run the marathon, but I really walk and run. And for me, it's an antidepressant. It helps me to start the day. It helps me to give me a high. And I think it's a free antidepressant without consultation and without paying medicines for the entire thing.
Thank
It's
you,
yoga.
Doctor. Yeah, fantastic, Doctor Shetty. You may be aware that there is an entire movement called exercise is medicine by American College of Sports Medicine, and the entire purpose
Absolutely.
is to train every discipline of medical professional to prescribe exercise as a medication for as a medicine for most of the common
I
afflictions that.
write in my paper, I write.
Okay, and prescribe it. Good. So when I give talks in corporates, and this one of the things, I mean, I give many benefits of running, but one of the things that I like to say, which you might like to pick up on, is that our morning mental state is the state that carries throughout the day. When you get up in the morning and you say, I'm going to wear my shoes and walk 5 rounds in my building compound, assuming that you have never been walking, even that, it gives you a sense of achievement in the morning. You feel accomplished. Okay, 5 rounds I walked. I wore my shoes and I went down. I wore my track pants, which was lying somewhere in the cupboard, and I went down and I walked 5 rounds. Even that gives a sense of achievement. You don't have to run marathons, like you say, you don't have to run. But that mental frame state, that sense of achievement, is the frame state that you carry throughout the day. And I give an example. I say that there is this expression called, got up on the wrong side of the bed. you know which really captures this. And I humorously tell in the organizations that I am sure that in the office there is a conversation, अरे बॉस का कैबिन में मत जा, सबको देख के चिल्ला रहा है, किसका मुंह देख के उठा मालूम नहीं है.
Don't
Kind
say
of.
that. Don't say that. You have to meet your friends.
So of course everybody laughs and I say, no, no, not your boss, kind of thing. So in corporate this kind of thing goes well and it kind of resonates in that environment. Yes, definitely, whatever you do, you don't have to run. You can cycle, you can jog, you can do yoga, you can go out for a swim, you can just go to the balcony and do some breathing exercises or whatever you want to do. But whatever you do, it gives you a sense of achievement, and that mental frame state carries throughout the day. Is the single point that I'll make. And Varka, I want your take on how good is physical activity as a palliative care.
Absolutely. It's because with any form of exercise, yoga, Zumba, Bollywood dancing, running, walking, whatever,
Anything, yeah.
I think the two most important hormones, endorphins and oxytocin. Oxytocin is more released when there is group work. So personally, I never want to work out alone. I usually go to my yoga class or to the gym where there are other people, because there is groupism and camaraderie which helps to build the relation. And then you've got peppy music. So you've got an emotional kind of driver also, which allows you to just do things together. And I cannot underemphasize the importance of physical wellness in mental wellness. They're so closely correlated and interdependent that once you start your day kicking off with something which is going to energize you and activate you, but naturally, as Dr. Shetty said, the mind gets a direction of some kind of purpose, some kind of energy, some kind of relaxation. So it is a free antidepressant. Unfortunately, Indians are pretty much couch potatoes. We don't like exercise as a way of life. We are not outdoors as much as ideally we ought to be. And maybe this is a great movement, Gayatri, that you have initiated, that where we can, really encourage people to go out and play. In fact, whatever little bit of reading I'm doing on the pandemic, the virus is spreading more indoors than outdoors. And it is important for us, therefore, to go out and literally get that sunshine and get that fresh air and use the empty roads that are there today. I mean, who's seen empty roads in Bombay? To get ourselves walking, jogging, running, if we have to just get a kickstart to getting ourselves better physically and, of course, emotionally.
Thank you, Varka. You mentioned about cities and city roads, and Amit Yadav. Hi, Amit. He's asking a question. City folks and rural folks, and I'll just read out the question. He says, city folks and rural
Folks,
folks. My parents reside in a village. We converse daily. I notice that mentally they are handling COVID-19 situation better, even though they have lesser resources. What's your take?
Dr. Shetty?
Yeah,
Or
Dr.
you want
Shetty.
to-
Okay.
Absolutely right. They have more air, they have sunshine, they have people at a distance, and the philosophy of life is different. आज
Correct.
हल नहीं चलाएंगे, कल चलाएंगे यार. My mother is 84-year-old. She's in the village. We are farmers. तो कल चलाएंगे. आज गप मारेंगे. Up pure air. Peacocks come to my house in Mangalore. Peacocks come. All the birds come. Snakes also come. Correct. We love snakes. We don't kill snakes in Mangalore. We don't kill snakes at all. We have cows in the house. We do go seva, not kutta seva. You know kutta seva in Bombay. The dog is smiling, but the man who's taking the dog is not smiling afterwards. So I mean, I would love to go home and take. If I had known, if Corona had given me a call, मैं 6 महीने तुम्हारी वाट लगाऊंगा, तो I would have gone and stayed in Mangalore. माँ कसम बोलता हूँ वेंकट. I
Hmm.
शपथ. Really, I promise you, I would have gone and stayed in Bangalore. And I agree with Amit completely, I think. But at the same time, I would advise Amit to tell his village folks, don't take this pandemic very lightly. If the government has said in UP, Bihar, or in Bangalore that please wear a mask and please use safe distance and please, hygiene question in India is very poor.
Yeah,
And I think that is important. Exercise is also an immunity building exercise against COVID.
correct. Can I add? I just
Sure,
want to add
sure. Yeah,
that
sure.
I believe that the village folk are emotionally and attitudinally much hardier than us. We are very fragile. Okay, maybe the challenges in city living is very different. So their entire character is much more sturdier and than ours. And we are spoiled. No, we are used to machines and we are used to doing things. There, everything is pretty much they have to do with their hands, and this then the straight the mind, when it is purposefully driven towards an activity, say, you have to actually go out into the fields and do things, you've got a very different mindset. Your mindset is very different.
I agree completely.
Completely.
Varkha.
So let me give you an example. You said you could have gone to Mangalore. I am also, I have my ancestral house in my village in Tanjore, and I keep touch because we have a caretaker and we keep calling up, and I know what's happening in the village. And coronavirus has come to some small towns around the village, but it has not yet come to the village. And two of my cousins, who one is working in IBM and one is working in Samsung. Okay, the Samsung guy is working in Korea, but before the coronavirus, he came back here. The net connectivity is not very good. So Aircel has given a some antenna kind of thing. They have a separate package. You get 10 Mbps connectivity in the village with that antenna thing. And he says they're charging about 1200 rupees a month. Now both of them, one is a project manager in Samsung, one is a project manager in IBM, are doing work from home from the village house. I mean, and I told them, I envy you. If I had known, I would have also come there. What does it matter where I'm sitting? As long as I'm in front of a laptop with bandwidth.
Correct.
So that this COVID is throwing up so many new possibilities, and work from home, people going back to the villages can be a distinct possibility, and cities could get decluttered because of that, which is a bit law of unintended positive consequences, you know kind of thing. So that's the question. Thank you, Amit. I hope he answered your question. I also believe that the Japanese have this thing called a nature bath. They believe that if you go into the jungle and stand in the jungle with the trees and everything, you get a lot of nature falling on you, and that becomes a good thing.
Ikigai,
So,
I think it's called.
yeah, ikigai.
Ikigai, yeah.
Correct. So I think that is also a very good thing, because man was intended to be with nature. I mean, if he's around with nature, if he's in open house, air, animals, trees, breeze, birds, everything, then that is a very great antidepressant. And along with that, if you can run 5-6 kilometers like I do in my village, that is ice cream on the top. Anyway, so Gayatri, what's your take on village versus city?
Um, that's kind of a question. I think, I never lived in a village, but from just my understanding, village are much more close knit in terms of sharing, even though they are poorer. So I think the cultural aspect of the village people are very different. Even if they have a cup of tea, they're ready to share because they don't have a lot. But that aspect of sharing and caring is a little different when we are living in a city life, particularly like Mumbai, where we are kind of, our day-to-day life is very stressful. We forget to think about other people. We are running from one job or running, getting up in the bus, in the train, running back, running forth, cooking, cleaning. So that makes a huge cultural difference in how people cope in cities and villages, and perhaps, in villages, because they're so relaxed in that aspect, it's helping them cope better with these situations than we are. And we are also very closed in the village. They're not sitting inside a hut, they do go out. And in the city, we are sitting in an apartment where, for how many months you weren't even allowed to step out of your house. So makes things a little different from being in a village and in a city, I think.
Good. So we don't have any more questions, and all of you are have time to elsewhere to go. So are there any last words, Harish, before we close the session? I mean, is there something that you want? If there are three single important tips that you want to give to our viewers, what would they be in the present circumstances?
There are three gods,
Hmm.
and they are new gods, though
Ah.
not Brahma, Vishnu, and Mahesh.
Ah.
Brahma, Vishnu, and Mahesh are they're the super gods there for the
Ah.
Hindus, and for the Christians different. Three gods are masked god,
Okay.
masked god. I
Ah.
travel across Bombay in the day because I've been practicing from day one. I have not stayed
Hmm.
at home. I
Hmm.
see people careless,
Hmm.
absolutely careless, not wearing a mask, and I mean, absolutely careless. The second god is distance god,
Hmm.
extremely important.
Hmm.
कितना भी प्यारा चाचा हो 10 फीट के दूर 6 फीट के दूर से बात करेगा वो.
Hmm. Hmm.
It could be your anybody, yaar. 6 feet
Hmm.
distance is a must. And
Hmm.
the third is Indians are very poor in hygiene.
Hmm.
They're good at immunity, but very poor hygiene. God, I think
Hmm.
I'm not worshipping any Lakshmi now. I'm
Hmm.
not interested in money. I'm interested in my life.
Hmm.
As you said, as you began, we are in the trenches. It's a war. We are in the bunkers. But I think the most important thing is that we are not hiding from life. We are hiding from the virus. Live your life, but stay alive in 2020. Corona will go. We have fought many disasters in India. And Indian civilization is the only civilization that's alive. Akkadian gone, Sumerian gone, Egyptian gone, Roman gone. Genghis Khan said, Corona tak, no problem. I'm happy, Varkha, that TikTok is gone. Sorry, we are deeper. Yes.
That's okay.
I was also on TikTok, by the way.
Oh,
Hmm.
Yeah. It's a great medium to spread mental health awareness
Ah.
for young
great
kids.
medium too.
To share mental health awareness to school kids.
Oh,
Okay.
your target demographic is there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Okay,
Three
good.
gods,
So,
Team
three God.
Bhagwan.
Okay, okay. So before I give it to Varka, I just want to tell our viewers that please register for the Into the Light virtual run. The run is a virtual run. You can run whatever distance, and there are lots of options available. You can run it wherever you want to run it. After you finish the run, if you upload your statistics, we will give you a certificate. But the purpose of the run is to raise money for sister living works. It is not to for you to can run to make money, or it's not for Gayatri to buy a Mercedes Benz or anything. Gayatri is putting her time, effort, everything, into sister living works. Visit the website, see the work that they do. They're continuously conducting classes in schools, colleges, adolescent mental health, which is very, very important. I know of one case just 2 days back. The guy was 20 years of age. Previous day in the evening, he was normal, absolutely normal, not married, going to the gym, exercising, having some small business he had started. No reason to worry. He committed suicide next day morning.
Oh no.
Nobody knows why. Nobody knows why. Nobody knows why. Okay, so this is the thing. I was told that there is a suicide being committed in India every 4 minutes.
Mhm.
That I believe is the statistics. Okay, so like cardiac disease, and there are 80 people who die of cardiac disease in Bombay every year, every day 80 people die because of cardiac disease in Bombay. This is a statistic, the public health statistics based on an RTI, inquiry. So like that, only suicide arising out of mental, health is a very big issue. Please support the run. Please support. There are many NGOs. Sister Living Works needs money. In the times of COVID, CSR funds have dried up. Donors are not coming forward. But the work is even more important. So, if you're running an NGO at this time, and we did a session on charities and COVID and how all charities are drying up for money. So that is why these virtual runs are being conducted, so that, good work done by people like Gayatri can continue and benefit thousands of people. Because in one lecture, if you give and, if 40 people listen to that lecture, those 40 are going to carry that message. There's a percolation effect of that message. Like there's going to be a percolation effect of the webinar that we are conducting today. And that's very important. Okay. So, before that, before we sign off, Varkha, what are your top 3 points to take care of your mental health?
I think we are falling sick with the worry of being sick when actually
Okay.
we're quite healthy. So I think
Okay.
a lot of people are getting so anxious about falling sick that I think what they have to keep reminding themselves is, as they do what is the protocol suggested, they wash their hands, they wear a mask, and they keep social distance. And of course, boost their immunity by sleeping well, eating correctly, taking their vitamins. I think they have to just continue life. I think life has to continue with you now recalibrating a new normal, so to speak. Okay, so you can't go out. So, how do you make the best of a bad bargain? So, I think getting rid of the anxiety about illness is a very important first step for mental wellness. I think that is consuming people. I think, two, is looking after yourselves. I don't think as Indians we've really worried about our health until this pandemic hit. In one way, it's been a good kind of
wake up call.
kick, yeah, a wake up call, a kick for us to realize the value, because at the end of the day, money cannot buy health. So you can run after and chase and earn all the money in the world, and you will still, unfortunately, succumb if your immune system is not good enough. So I think focusing on immunity building is a very important aspect. And I think third, I think the pandemic has helped us to pause. And I think it's very important that we've stopped running on that treadmill. I know we are talking about YouTooCanRun, but we've been running on the treadmill of life. And I think this pause is a very important a time for all of us to review what lives have we been leading, what relationships have we been building or not building in this case, what have we been doing with ourselves, which is, I think, nature sent this pandemic for us because we were running helter-skelter without any thought. So it's a great pause. Let's all practice the pause and enjoy it.
Thank you. Before I ask Gayatri for 3 points and we sign off, as a pro bono exercise, and because we can't go out and we need to exercise and look after our body, which you said, Varka, many of us don't do. I did 2 challenges. I did a 21-day challenge and I did a 14-day challenge, which is all on this Reach Team platform and recorded on YouTube. So, you can encourage, when you're writing exercises medicine and people say, what exercise? I would highly recommend, tell them to go to the 21-day challenge, which is for beginners. So it is it assumes that the guy is a dormant guy, sedentary lifestyle, couch potato, and it gives him posture correction. And it's very simple exercises over 21 days. I set 3 restrictions on myself. I'll use only 3 things. I will use a yoga mat, of course, which you need to put on the floor. I will use a stool, and I will use a chair. I will use only 3 things, and within these 3 things, I will do whatever I want to do. I will not use anything because that everybody has in their house.
Yeah.
That nobody can say I don't have a mat or I don't have. If you don't have a mat, put a chatai, you can even do it on the floor. It doesn't matter. Okay. So I said only 3 things, and that is my limitation, so that nobody can say I don't have rubber bands, I don't have skipping rope or anything like that. So they can do the 21-day course. The 14-day course, which I followed later, is a little bit more intense. This assumes that the guy is in some shape and he wants to do this. And over 14 days, I give every day one challenge, which is towards health and weight reduction and mobility. I am telling you that so many people have been following this, and so many people have significantly lost weight, and they have taken this as an opportunity to actually regrow and learn new things, like getting into an exercise and fitness lifestyle with they or not. So this is just something that you might want to give. It's all out there. It's free. You can start anytime and you can get started. And I'm very, very simple, very, very easy, showing easy method, advanced method, everything is there. So Gayatri, finally to you. You're the host of the evening, so to speak. So what are the 3 points that our viewers
He's
should
the
take care of?
star of the evening.
Star of the evening, correct. Three quick points
Venkat,
before we sign
thank
off.
you very much for organizing this and helping us put
Thank you.
our message forward.
Hmm.
And one of the things that I will say is, you talked about raising funds, and all the proceeds go towards supporting the programs in India. So we don't take any money here. So we are all volunteers here so that people know that, there is no overhead, there is nothing like that that's happening. All of it goes towards supporting the programs in India. The three things that I would talk about is one of them, as I talked, when you're in arguments in the house and there is no way out, try to go outside of this argument, try to relax, try to get your heart rate down to get back into a conversation. So that to me is very, very important because you want to build a relationship. Otherwise, this will escalate into something more. The other thing I would focus on is focus on things that you can control rather than focusing on things you cannot control. Corona is here, we cannot control, but what can we do? Like Dr. Shetty and Varkha said, wear a mask, keep social distance. So those kind of things, wash your hands. I know washing hands and spitting uh, in India is like a big thing, People don't realize when they're
Spitting
spitting,
has
they're,
been banned. Spitting has been banned by law. And
oh, really?
so we
I
see
hope
that
they are.
because spitting
Yeah.
is banned, tuberculosis spread also will actually go down.
Yeah, because people don't realize when they're spitting outside, they are spreading the generous virus around. So those would be, and trying to get whatever exercise, like Venkat said, do the basics. There are lots of things that I was doing which I cannot do. I used to swim. I used to, do a lot of weight training on my own, but, I went to the gym for the weights and that I cannot do. So I pick up, maybe I tell people, pick a bottle, water bottle, do something with it that has weight in it. So, like you said, there are basic things we can do to keep our heart rate up and give us feel good and have a good night's rest. So I would think focusing on those things, keeping up the relationships, de-stressing, focusing on things we can control, and also getting some yoga, whatever. There's so many online exercises these days. I think we cannot get enough of it. So, and Venkat has some great exercise. I think that people should follow that. And that would be my takeaway from this whole
Thank you.
situation
Thank you.
scenario we're in.
Thank you. Thank you, Gayatri. So finally, we'll acknowledge Salil. Salil has said, thanks to all the wonderful speakers for sharing their inputs on mental health. Thanks, Venkat, for organizing such webinars. And Amit Yadav again says, thanks, friends, wonderful session. So thank you, everybody. And with this, we come to the end of the session. Sorry, I apologize for the technical glitches that came up. I don't know why. And I had a very stressful time myself because my regular laptop kind of collapsed on me, and I had to do makeshift with my son's laptop. I'm sorry about that. So do remember to like our Facebook page, or like the YouTube channel, subscribe to the YouTube channel, press the bell icon. Every Wednesday we try to do a webinar on some important topic that is relevant to especially exercise, running, kind of things. And thank you very much. Manohar Rodriguez says, thanks for this wonderful session. Thank you, Manohar. Powerful session panel, Dr. Harish Shetty, Varkha, Gayatri, Venkatraman sir. Thank you for the valuable time and advice. Thank you, everybody. Thanks a lot. I will now shut off the stream. Thank you very much.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
Thank you,
Pleasure.
Bye.
Venkat,
Thank
Pleasure
for
you
meeting
so
you.
hosting it.
much,
Dr.
Dr.
Bye.
Kapil.
Shetty,
Thank you,
Varkha.